Welcome to San Francisco International Airport. There are trips that turn out way better than expected, and then there are trips like today's journey. Alright, so once more and now in person also from me here, welcome to this new trip report. Apologies for the slightly chaotic start. I had some issues getting to the airport. Basically my Uber app was bugging out and then I managed to get dropped off at the wrong terminal, so I had to rush over here. But now we are behind the security checks. I have dropped off my luggage. Security, well, it took quite a while even though we were in the priority lane, but now we are through and on the right side of security. We will be flying with Lufthansa today to Frankfurt from San Francisco International Airport. The first thing I need to figure out is what my gate is, so let's check that out, and then I think we have some time now, so I think a good idea would be to head for a lounge where we then can talk a little bit more about our flight today. I look forward to the lounge as to enjoy a little bit of comfort before our long flight, but I imagine it could be quite busy right about now, so I don't know how much I'll be able to show you there without disturbing other guests too much. But let's first head down this a bit dark stairwell, which supposedly will lead us to the lounge. I've spent about a week's time here at San Francisco and actually also one day at LA, and it's my first time that I've been to the US East Coast, and it's been quite a lovely trip. I've been able to do some plane spotting and traveling a bit, and so I had a great time. But this is a trip that I've actually been planning and wanting to do for many years. And one of the main reasons, apart from that I never had been to the East Coast, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this trip was actually because I've never flown the A380. And Lufthansa used to fly the A380 here to San Francisco. But then Corona came along and the aircraft pretty much disappeared. But I still wanted to do the trip because I wanted to do some plane spotting here and see the East Coast. Now, unfortunately, we won't be flying on an A380 today because they are being brought back now, but it's still a bit too early. But there is still some positive to take from all this. Because the aircraft that Lufthansa is using on this route at the moment is the Boeing 747-8. And I mean, apart from the aircraft on its own being a rather rare aircraft, the passenger version is particularly rare. I mean, there are only 3 airlines worldwide that are using it as passenger aircraft. That's Air China, Korean Air and Lufthansa. So I really do look forward to trying out the 747-8. I've been flying on the 747-400 quite a few times. The 200, that was a bit too early for me, but I've never flown on the 8, and we will try that out today. I would have liked to be on business class, to be honest, but for this date it was just fully booked. There was nothing to do, so we would be flying economy. But the good thing about that is as well that it gives us the opportunity to try out Lufthansa on an intercontinental route and how their economy is there. So I think there are many really interesting things about this trip today. So let's see how it goes. But now I will have a little bit of food, grab something to eat, and then I will head over to the gate. And then let's see what happens from there. So it turns out it would have been better to stay a little longer in the lounge as our flight to Frankfurt is delayed. But despite me having several connection flights once I arrive in Europe, I am not really concerned, as on such a 10+ hour flight, delays often can be caught up with during flight. And after having waited here at the gate for some time now, the crew for today's flight finally arrives. So I guess it won't be too long now until boarding. So I quite look forward to get on board and try out the mighty 747-8.
And now welcome our priority boarding group 2, Senators, for Alliance Gold Card members. Please board on the right-hand side of the podium. And we're using biometric system board for boarding. When you reach the podium, please step on the lap, look at the camera, and wait for the green light. When it's green, you're good to go. When it's blue,
All right, it's time to head to Frankfurt. Hallo.
Hallo, hallo.
16a.
Den ersten Gang.
Danke. Alright, so welcome on board flight LH455 from San Francisco to Frankfurt. I'm sitting now here in my seat 16A in economy, and this is the view that I have from the seat. Ooh, a United Star Alliance plane. So this will be our seat for the next 10+ hours. The seat is fairly comfortable for an economy seat, and given that we have a bulkhead seat, we have excellent leg room. At the seat you'll find a pillow and a blanket. There is a large screen in front of you, but don't worry, you do have an individual IFE screen, but in this row they are stored in the armrest. In terms of storage, there are large overhead compartments for your carry-on, and you have a little pocket in front of you that I am already using to the fullest. Wi-Fi is available, however only for purchase. But there are no power or USB plugs available, so if you need to recharge devices, make sure to bring your own power bank with you. But with now almost 1 hour delay, it looks like we are finally ready to get going. So while we taxi towards the runway, I take the opportunity for a first little power nap, as I have a feeling getting some rest on this flight will be crucial. Flying on these kind of long intercontinental flights in economy is never going to be the most comfortable experience, but I do still look forward to seeing how Lufthansa will be doing on this service, and as mentioned, it's my first time on the 747-8, so since I didn't manage to fly on the A380, it's for sure a good substitution in my books. But let's see what the Lufthansa 747-8 can do in terms of entertainment. Well, the IFE is probably one of the worst IFEs I have ever come across. Not because of its content, which actually seems rather comprehensive, but the system is painfully slow and unresponsive, making the process of actually finding the content almost impossible and thoroughly unenjoyable. This also means that it is pretty much impossible to actually show you some of the offered content, as I just can't film it properly. And that's a shame. To be honest, I would have expected better from a self-proclaimed premium carrier. Of course, to add salt to injury, the audio plug is defective and the screen is lagging. I must say, I am thoroughly underwhelmed. Luckily, I also brought my own entertainment with me because this is everything but enjoyable. Shortly after the seatbelt sign is switched off, the crew hands out some small snacks and offers something to drink. A bit frustrated by the AFE, I need something to lift my spirits, so of course I get myself a nice gin and tonic. Finally, something goes my way. On the flight, Lufthansa will offer a hot lunch and a cold breakfast. Lunch options are beef or pasta. I choose the beef option. As a starter, there is some kind of quinoa bulgur salad thing, which was very dry and uninspired. The main course, beef with mashed potatoes and vegetables, was alright, but also not a culinary highlight. Bread and cheese was served as well as some peach yogurt dessert. Nothing was that spectacular or memorable, but overall for an economy service it was alright. The crew is welcoming and attentive and are regularly offering additional drinks, which is much appreciated. Apart from a gin and tonic, once in a while keeping hydrated on such a long flight can be a challenge, but the crew does a good job at keeping passengers sufficiently hydrated. So in what I assume is the preparation for the night time on board, the crew hands out a bottle of water. I love how attentive the crew is with supplying passengers with enough to drink. And so it is time to get some sleep, or at least I'll be trying to. After a tough night thanks to a kid that managed to constantly kick my chair, sing loudly in the middle of the night, stick his feet through the gap of the seats and even grab me at some point, combined with the by now not so comfortable seat, has left me somewhat unrested and with a bit of a mood. To be clear, I don't blame the kid. The parents being completely indifferent to it all, however, I don't have much sympathy for. So apart from not feeling the best due to sleep deprivation and looking a bit like a roasted chicken due to some sunburn I managed to pick up during my trip, it's time for the breakfast. Lufthansa serves a sandwich which is edible but honestly not much more. Luckily, there's also some fruit which is hard to mess up. Now we did start this flight with a bit of a delay. I wasn't too worried about it as I assumed we could catch up with it at least a bit during the flight, but now I'm actually getting a bit more concerned as my hope does not appear to have materialized. And once arrived in Frankfurt, I have several connections ahead of me still, which means if I lose the first, I lose the following as well. Now, this is by no means the first time I experienced something like this, and in all fairness, there isn't a whole lot the crew can do, except keeping passengers informed and coordinate with the arrival airport in order to streamline procedures for those passengers with tight connections. But so far, nothing in that order seems to be happening. So I ask, and couldn't have gotten a more indifferent answer. It really didn't seem to interest the crew member at all. Even worse, the crew member told me not to worry, as our initial delay had been reduced to roughly 20 minutes. Which of course would be good news, as in that case I should be able to make my connection flight. However, the airshow predicts an arrival time of 10:48 in the morning. My next flight starts boarding at 11. And originally I had 1 hour and 5 minutes from arrival to next boarding. So something doesn't match up, but let's pause on that for now. As we are closing in on Frankfurt, let's recap this flight experience. We are flying economy and that will never be the most comfortable experience, but that's okay. You get what you pay for. At least to some degree. The hard product seems tired, especially the IFE was a massive letdown. Dim-witted and slow would be the kindest I can say about it. I had a terrible night, but this is definitely not the airline's fault, rather the folks behind me. While the crew performance was great during most of the flight, it was a big letdown towards the end, as I got the distinct feeling that the potential trouble of passengers caused by the delay of the flight just wasn't something they could be bothered with. The information given to me by the crew contradicting the information I myself could gather from the airshow is just a small example of this. And what a surprise, the airshow was right, and whatever the crew member was thinking when talking to me, it certainly had little to nothing to do with reality. The way the delay and the potential consequences for passengers was handled is standing in stark contrast to an experience I had with Eurowings Discover earlier this year, and if you want to know how much better they handled a delay, then I'll link to this trip report in the description below. Now that we have touched down, welcome to Frankfurt. And as we taxi to the terminal, my sunburned and sleep-deprived self is looking forward to get out of my seat and hopefully, by some miracle, make my next flight. Let's see if I can make my connection flight, and then we need to end this video. Unfortunately, Frankfurt Airport did all it could to make me reaching my connection flight impossible by only having a passport control at the farthest point possible from my arrival gate open. I should have continued to Brussels and then Billund, but was rebooked to London Heathrow, from where I would continue with British Airways to Billund. And despite having 3+ hours in London, Heathrow did not manage to transfer my luggage, which I then ended up waiting for another 5 days to be delivered. So thank God, not all my journeys go like this. And if you want to see other trips which go much better than this one, well, there are plenty of them already here on the channel, and there will be more coming out in the future. So don't forget to leave a like on this video, and of course hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future trips. With that, thanks so much for joining me here on this trip, and see you in another one.